What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this is where we talk about the news topics that happened in the scale world of RC over the past week. If you enjoyed the Scale News Update, hit the like button. Let's jump into this week's topics. First this week, I want to touch back on a story from last week. Axial Fest, California, West Coast, whatever you want to call it. One thing that I didn't notice when I saw the story originally until after I had finished editing and uploading was that there is no camping at the location this year, which is definitely unfortunate, but a little bit outside of the control of the event organizers. So if you're thinking about attending, you are gonna have to figure out lodging elsewhere, either other campgrounds or hotels a little bit further out. Airbnbs, cabins in the area, fairly plentiful, but probably gonna get soaked up pretty quick. So if you're thinking about making that trip, definitely think about where you're hoping or planning on staying in the area. Next, a new accessory that I saw pop up for the Axial SCX-10.3 Gladiator is this rear bed rack from Club 5. This is an actual metal bed rack that looks very similar to some of the full-size bed racks that you can get for the Gladiator. Now, again, this is a metal bed rack option, replaces the one that comes on it, but it's gonna add a lot of weight up high. So if you're really liking the scale style and realism of a bed rack, then this is a great option. It's got places for lights, all of that, but again, a lot of weight up high and in the back to boot. So something to think about if you're thinking about adding some accessories to that Axial JT. Several months back, we talked about the MST DC1 Body, the Land Rover style body from MST, and we saw computer renderings of it, and now they're posting the first prototype physical pieces, showing a painted version of that on one of their chassis with the newer style axles under it as well. Now, MST often shows these kind of teases of the new products months in advance of them ever coming out. They did have a short post explaining when some of their future products were going to come out. So it appears at this point that we will see the DC1 body sometime in this year, probably. We'll see how things go with a lot of products nowadays. We're seeing a lot of delays happening. So at this point though, wait for it later in the year. And then next, Charisma put out a Patina Your Body Yourself sticker kit. This is specifically listed for their SCA1E platform, but they show it on a number of bodies. It's obviously kind of a do-it-all sticker kit. And it looks about like what you think rust style stickers would look like once you put them on a body. Some of the photos definitely make them look better than some of the other photos that maybe show a little bit more detail. However, if you've just got to have that patina look, but not really interested in doing an actual paint job with it, here's a $7 kit that you can pick up to do it yourself. Then this week, we also saw a new release from Montec with their new scale truck body. We've seen some releases from them in just the last 6 months or so with some kind of universal interior options. They brought back an old crawler body that they had years ago, and now they've got this one. I just don't know if there's much I can say about this body. Reef RC this week posted up some photos and specs of their new 800 IS low profile winch. IS stands for internal spool, meaning that everything is inside of a typical servo case, and in this one, actually a low profile servo case. The specs for it are 800 ounce inches at only 6 volts, and of course it goes up from there. Speed on this is still given in typical servo speed. It doesn't say if it's under load or no load, so things can change drastically. It's hard to say exactly the speed of this compared to some of the others, but if you're interested in this in a nice low profile form factor, all aluminum case, internal spool, then watch Reefs as it says that it's coming soon. RC 4-Wheel Drive just released a limited edition Trailfinder 2 RTR with the Toyota 4Runner body, coming in this kind of old school color scheme with the appropriate graphics on it as well. It appears to be a standard RC 4-Wheel Drive TF2 with the new Toyota body sitting on top. This is coming with 1.7 inch aluminum beadlock wheels on it and Falcon 1.7 inch Wild Peaks also. It does have the updated Yoda 2 axles on it, and the electronics that are used are the standard RC 4-Wheel Drive. Same old radio, ESC, servo, just bare minimum electronics. A lot of companies have been stepping up some of the RTR electronics options that come in with better radios, better servos, decent ESCs. However, it doesn't look like that has been on RC 4-Wheel Drive's to-do list yet. So At least the rest of the package looks good, and if you're an old school 4Runner fan, this is probably right up your alley. If you're interested in the RC Wheel Drive 4Runner, make sure and check for the link in the description below, as well as links to the rest of today's stories. And staying with the very scale side, GCM Racing released the CMax 2 last week. Now, the CMax 2 is a platform that is made specifically to work with a number of the very scale body options, hard body options almost specifically. They have specific packages tailored to specific body options that are popular to use on this style of chassis. So you can get the links and all of the suspension pieces as well as appropriate width axles for each of the body options. You just select which one you want to build, pick that package up, pick the body up separately as well as the electronics and things like that that you need, and you can bolt yourself together a very scale rig in a very simple way. Except one thing that I noticed is that some of the body mounting options you will need to download and 3D print yourself. But the options you actually get by subscribing to their Patreon, which is odd. I've never seen that side. I mean, I've seen people sell files for whatever value, low or high, and then you have the file and you can print it. But this is a different method. They have put up a Patreon, and you can spend $2 a month or $5 a month or $50 a month and have access to the files and then other content as well. Now, content creators having Patreon accounts or other accounts like them, not a new thing, very common, especially nowadays. But a business side, you don't see it as often. But GCM themselves are also content creators, so it's just kind of blending the lines a little bit between the business side and the content creator side. An interesting approach, one that I haven't seen before, and be interesting to see how people accept that and if they have any thoughts or if they're interested or not in the approach. I guess time will tell, and we'll see if others follow in their footsteps as we progress. Then for those of you who are hunting for more performance and are looking for skid plate options for some of your rigs, Vader Skids are now in stock at AMATE. You can get a number of the skid plate options that they offer. We've covered these in the past, specifically ones like their offerings for the axial Capra, so you can change out the molded skid, go with a machined Delrin one, and they have different options for the different transmission options as well. And then you can also pick up skid plates for things like the SCX-10, SCX-10-2, and other vehicles also. If you're looking for an upgraded skid plate option for one of your vehicles, might be worth taking a look, and I'll link to them, like the rest of the stories, in the description below. This week while browsing for stories, I also noticed that there is a new Hobby Plus CR18 Builders Edition available now as well. Now this 1/18th scale, as it's listed, is actually very similar to like the SCX 24s and other 124 scale vehicles. I actually have one of the Hobby Plus CR18s, and it's basically like one of those, just longer. So if you have one of the 24 scales and you really enjoy that, these are a good option. They're a little bit longer. Again, just gives you some more wheelbase. They do run a standard ring and pinion style axle rather than a worm gear, so they handle a little bit better with a little bit of wheel speed and have a little bit of rollout. Now they don't have as much gear ratio as a worm gear, so different things, and they handle differently between the types. But the most interesting thing about this is that it is a builder's kit version. It comes with a clear Lexan body for you to paint yourself. You assemble the whole vehicle yourself, but it still comes with all of the electronics. So if you just want the experience of building a kit, but didn't really feel like going and purchasing aftermarket electronics, which can add up, everything is still there. These things are super affordable, and you get a new kit to build. So if you're looking for a low-cost project that you want to tinker with assembling yourself, here is a fantastic option. However, if you still want to put something together, but just absolutely hate yourself, how about this option from Orlando? And this is their 132nd military truck with leaf springs. I've assembled these 132nd Orlandos in the past. They are a bear. So tiny on the parts. Everything is so tiny. This one, leaf springs with multi-leaf packs on each corner. The wheels go on with what looks like 8 or 10 actual bolt style like lug nuts. I can only imagine magnifying glasses, a lot of light, and some tiny tools at the very minimum. I told myself I would never assemble one of these again, but with everything this one has in there, looks kind of tempting to just try, just to see how bad it could be. It's only 99 bucks, so it's a fairly cheap kit, but it is only 1/32 scale. Next, Castle Creations last week debuted the new Copperhead 10. This is a new ESC from Castle Creations, and it's a mid-ground between their Sidewinder 4 and their Mamba X. It has a lot of the features of the Mamba X, but at a lower price point, at about 110 bucks. It has censored capabilities unlike the Sidewinder 4. It only goes up to 4S instead of 6S like the Mamba X. It doesn't have the machined aluminum case that the Mamba X has. Also, it has what's called data logging light rather than the full data logging that the Mamba X has. So it appears that it won't exactly monitor all of the same parameters that the Mamba X will. But for our market, this may be a perfect fit for people who are looking to get a nice quality brushless system but still save a little bit. It looks like it still has most everything we need that the Mamba X offered, but just taking some of the things away that we didn't really need. So you save yourself a little money. It's got a fan option for the top as well. Comes with a copper heatsink, as seems appropriate, and a Copperhead logo for the top. You can check out all the specs on this and pick one up. They're in stock now. So a lot of things can be hard to find nowadays. So if you think you might need one, maybe pick up two. Then we got some more photos of the Traxxas Drag Slash, but still not all of them. We got a close-up look at what the new 272R transmission is in the new Drag Slash. Not a lot of info. We knew that it was going to have an aluminum motor plate. We saw that, we saw the gear layout, we saw that it has a 4-gear differential in it, oil filled, but we still just don't know a ton. We see that the case has got some nice beefy mounting structure for the wheelie bar that's going to go on the back, but we're still hanging out here waiting for the photos of the chassis and anything new and innovative that may be integrated into it. Engineered to win, quickest in the streets. Give us the info. But if you've just been holding some money in your hand that you had to give to Traxxas somehow, they did release a new rubberized pit mat this week, so you can pick that up. Looks like a nice mat. It's got some nice little indents in it, rubberized, good size. If you need something to protect your desk, pick one of these up. Speaking of drag racing parts, Hi-Tech released a servo that they are targeting no prep drag racers with, specifically rating it from 4.8 to 8.4 volts, stating that it has zero backlash carbonite gears. I'm not totally familiar with what carbonite is. Probably gonna have to Google it. It does note that it has exceptional centering ability, so hopefully it keeps you going straight. With anything drag racing specific advertised, I expected the prices to be higher, but they're only advertising this at 35 bucks, so it's actually a pretty decent price servo for something that they're trying to hype up as no prep drag racing aimed. If you bought a roller or building a custom car, maybe this is a servo you could give a shot. And then for the most expensive story of the week, a $6,000 Tamiya Wild One Max. Now, I didn't totally understand what this was when I saw it either. And I think that's because that the photos are renderings, and the renderings look like any other RC car rendering, except that this is actually an 8/10 scale, and it's an actual vehicle you can sit in and drive. It's still electric, and it's licensed by Tamiya, but being built by a company out of the UK. And it is 6,000 pounds, as in the currency, not the weight. It's rear wheel drive, it's rated up to 30 miles an hour. It's got a peak power of 5.5 brake horsepower. It's rated at 25 miles of range. It's got 15-inch off-road tires on it. It has hydraulic brakes, and it says that there's a number of hop-ups that will be available, including things to make it go faster and even make it road legal in some countries. I mean, that is a lot of money, but it's an actual ride-in vehicle, so maybe it's not the most outrageous price I've ever seen. At this point, you're just pre-ordering it. They're not actually available, so it is a little bit sketchy. It'll be interesting to see if they can actually produce these and at that price. I think the best part about this though is, like a Tamiya kit, you get to assemble this yourself. Hopefully though, this one comes with bearings. But that does it for this week's stories. For this week's question, we've seen it over the last weeks and months. Products being just soaked up, out of stock, or selling as fast as they hit a website for whatever manufacturer it may be. And that can be from the increased demand of people who have got into the hobby or have ramped up their hobby, during the last year of being stuck inside or stuck not being able to go do the things that they would normally do. So we've seen a just boom in the RC industry, but we also see a lot of other factors both outside and inside the United States that are causing this also. So for this week, I want you guys to post what is an item that you've recently been looking for that you just haven't been able to find. Something that you're normally able to find, a version or a model that you like of, but right now you just can't find it. RC preferably, but if it's non-RC, post that up as well. Appreciate you guys watching the Scale News every Tuesday. As always, I hope you have an awesome rest of the week. Thanks again for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoy these videos. Subscribe if you're not already. Hit the notification bell so you see the videos as soon as they get uploaded. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.